what local producers have is a completely unique product, something that's made in small batches with a lot of love, and an amazing story to tell about the product and about its provenance, about you, about why you made it. And I guess that's the most important thing to impart, really, and something that I've learned along the way, is really find a way of telling the story. And that's about everything from, you know, what the product is, make it really clear what it is, what it can be used for. So, for example, you know, we have the things that sell best in our shop are things where people give along suggestions of how you might use a particular product, recipe suggestions. So make it really, really obvious what it is, clearly, and how you might use it. Provenance is really, really important, and people are so keen to buy into locality, and that's something that I've really learnt along the way. The more specific you are about provenance, the better, the more it will sell. For example, you know, we have things in our shop that say that they have ingredients that are grown locally. They sell quite well. But when we have things where they actually say that the fruit was grown in Rosendale allotment, or the lavender came from a garden in Brixton Hill, people love that and they really, really buy into it. We have someone who sells us local honey, and it comes in 3 different batches that are made at different times of the year, and they're slightly different flavours. An autumn honey, this one is made from summer blossom, and this one is made from spring blossom. But interestingly, I think each one of them has got a really good design, a good label design, but it's the one that explicitly says London honey that sells far better than any of the others.
Where is it made?
It's not ultra. That one is from South Keys. It's not ultra local. I mean, we keep trying to get more local honey makers on board.
What places we can get them?
I'm talking to someone who is a beekeeper in Myatt's field, but telling your story is really key. This is a marmalade that's made by a local guy, and he has, the label is very simple, but on it there is a website link, and if you click on that link it goes through to a mini blog that tells you his story about the fact that he got the recipe from his grandmother Isabella, whose name's the marmalade after. You see a picture of his granny, and he tells you about the fact that making the marmalade, you know, reminds him of visiting his grandmother and the smells of the house when she was making the marmalade. And these are things too that I can, you know, tell to our customers when they come into the shop. And for me, being able to tell a story to customers, you know, about why someone is making something, where it's grown, where it comes from, is really, really key. But absolutely, people do really, really want to buy into that, and the more local, the better. A while ago, in another job, part of my past, I was doing some design research for Virgin, and we were comparing lots of big international brands, and from Apple to Sony to big airlines, and other brands like Innocence. And Innocence, the drinks company, came out way on top of all the others. And everyone knew its story. And that was what was quite fascinating, you know, about the value of that brand, that it was seen to be a homespun brand. People knew and could recount the story, you know, of people coming up with an idea to sell this fruit drink, having a stall at a festival, and asking the public, do you think this is worth selling or not selling? Should we launch a business or not? And now, you know, it's it's a really famous brand with an incredibly high value. So story is so important. What else? I guess in terms of competition with supermarkets, you know, as a small brand, you cannot have the same consistency. Each batch that you make might be slightly different. Seasonality comes into effect, as it does with the honey. You know, each batch of honey is dependent upon flowers that the bees can find at that time of year. But that's something that can, you know, that you can really use to sell your product. We sell some fantastic beers that are made in a very small microbrewery in South London, the Colonel Brewery. They're fantastic beers, IPAs, and every batch is slightly different, partly because they can't maintain the same consistency, but it's also a huge selling point of the beers, that every batch is given a slightly different name, they have different percentages, and they become kind of collector's items. They become quite sought after. People will come and they will try and kind of find out, oh, which batch is it this time? So it's about turning some things that in a way could be seen to be a disadvantage into an advantage. And lastly, I guess, it is important to be realistic about price. So talk to people that might be selling your product about, you know, what's a realistic price to be selling something for. I guess as a small producer, it needs to be comparable to the sort of luxury end of supermarkets, but higher than that, and you may just not sell. And so I guess you need to find other ways of trying to reduce the cost of production by being resourceful and looking out for maybe ingredients that are cheaper to you, buying in bulk collectively with friends from whole food suppliers, or like, you know, another of our small producers, she noticed that there was lots of fruit that was going to waste in local gardens around Brockwell Park. And so she went around her neighbours, and they all gave her fruit for free, and in return she would give them X number of jams in return. So you need to think creatively about how to reduce production costs.